Repeat after me. Your target audience is not a real person. It's a Pinterest board of buzzwords. Founders aged 25 to 45 who value authenticity, growth, and impact and want to 10x their stop. There's no way you can talk to that. You can only market at it. Welcome back to Your Mic. My name is Freddy, founder of Speke Podcasting. Hey, if you want to get your podcast back on track, or if you're an aspiring host and you want to start on the right track, hit me up for the official Speke Podcasting roadmap. You can grab it right now, spekepodcasting.com/free resources. And today, we're going to fire that fake avatar and hire listener number 37. Why 37? Because why the hell not? So let's start with why this matters in the first place. That's because every decent podcast strategy guide will tell you, know your listener, build a podcast avatar, create a detailed profile. They're right in theory. The problem is, in practice, you end up with someone who sounds like a LinkedIn carousel trying to become a human, and we all know that's just not possible. The best episodes, they don't sound like they're directed at, quote, an audience. They sound like one-on-one conversations where you kind of host talking directly to somebody's specific fear or desire. That level of intimacy is what turns casual listeners into binge monsters. So, instead of ideal persona, let's talk about listener 37. Listener 37 is one actual human in your audience. The person who sent you a DM that made you cry. The one who quietly likes everything but never comments. The one you'd actually want to go get coffee with. You're going to build them out using the avatar tools, but you're going to make them messy, specific, and inconveniently real. Let's sketch out one for my podcast, Your Mic, as an example. We're just going to use the name Steph. Age, 36. She lives in a mid-sized city, probably in a suburb that has more chain restaurants than trees. We've been to those, right? Her job? Content lead at a SaaS company, moonlighting as a podcast host on nights and weekends. Commute, 25 minutes, 2 stoplights. Secret fear that the show is mediocre and nobody will ever tell them. Why they listen to this show, Your Mic? Because everyone else talks about best practices. And I talk about the pain and craft and ego like somebody who's actually been in the arena. And I have been in the arena. This is not female, 25, 45, psychographically ambitious. No. This is someone whose boss misuses the word strategic and whose dog barks every time they record. Now watch what happens when you talk to Steph instead of creators or founders, female, 25 to 45 or whatever. Here's an intro written for creators. On today's episode, we're going to discuss how to better define your target audience so you can create more resonant content. I hope that didn't put you to sleep. Now, here's an intro written for Steph, aka Listener 37. Steph, this one's for you. The one recording in the coat closet next to the laundry room, hoping the mic doesn't pick up the dryer, wondering if anyone actually hears you or if you're just yelling into a void. Now, one of those makes a real human sit up. That sort of specificity is how you build that intimate, they're inside my head feeling guides are talking about when they push podcast avatars. And that feeling is what sparks word of mouth. When someone feels seen, they send your episode to the friend who's just as weird as they are. So, how do you actually create Listener 37? All right, I'm going to pause for just a quick second, grab a notebook, because I'm going to give you a framework. You ready? Okay, 1 second's passed. Step 1, base them on a real listener. Don't try and invent from scratch. Use a DM, a review, an email, someone you know offline who actually listens to your show. Most avatar guides are going to tell you to pull from research and surveys. Yeah, do that. Just don't stop at marketing manager and tech. Step 2, answer 4 dirty questions. Yeah, you're going to get dirty. Here we go. What problem are they pretending they don't have? What do they listen to your show instead of doing? Sleep, other work, doom scrolling? Who would they be embarrassed to admit they listen to? What are they secretly jealous of in other creators? You're going beyond demographics and into the stuff that actually drives behavior. Exactly what avatar experts say to do when they push deeper psychographics. Step 3. Write a literal paragraph about their day. I know this sounds goofy, but just go with me, okay? Steph wakes up, checks Slack, hates it, makes coffee, opens Notion, stares at the empty page, opens Spotify to avoid the empty page, that sort of thing. Now, you're ready to weaponize Listener 37, aka Steph. Now, where they change your decisions, hooks. You're not asking, what's a good generic hook? You're asking, what sentence would make Steph pause in the driveway instead of turn the car off? Examples. You pick analogies that live in their world. If they're in SaaS, you don't spend 20 minutes on agricultural metaphors. CTAs, calls to action. You stop saying, share this with your audience, and start saying, text this to one friend at your company who hates the same things you hate. This is in line with every audience first and avatar-centric growth guide that says the more your listener feels like you're talking only to them, the more likely they are to binge and convert. Also, Listener 37 helps you say no. When some trend pops up, whether it's a format, topic, or guest, you ask yourself, would Steph genuinely care about this? Would her life actually be better after listening to this? And if not, don't do it. You're no longer serving an abstract blob called growth. You're serving one person who will either stay with you for years or drift away because you started chasing people who aren't them. And here is the sneaky part. When you build a show for one real person, more of the right people start to show up because they recognize themselves in Steph, even if their name is not Steph, and even if they're a guy and not a girl, right? Because they'll recognize themselves in Steph, or they recognize someone they know and share that show with that person. So here's your challenge this week. Pick your Listener 37. Again, pull from a real DM, a reviewer, or a friend. Give them a name. Write one messy paragraph about their life. Tape their name near your mic and start your next 3 episodes by saying their name in your head or out loud in the raw take. All right, Steph. Let's do this. And believe me, if it doesn't feel at least a little bit creepy, you're not doing it right. So it's okay to feel a little bit creepy. You don't need a target market. You need one person who, when they hear you, feels like the universe finally sent them someone who gets it. Everybody else, they can listen in, but only if you share the episode. It only takes a few seconds to change the life of a podcast host in your circle. So don't be stingy. Share it. Please and thank you.